Hello, my name is Belinda Orr and welcome to my Health and Physical Education for Primary Teachers presentation, Indigenous Games for Inclusive Pedagogy. I would like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land upon which we receive our education and pay my respects to elders past, present and future, for they hold the memories, the traditions, the culture and hopes of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Australians. The Australian Curriculum and Assessment Reporting Authority, or ACARA, has been working in collaboration with Indigenous communities and education bodies in recent years to close the gap in educative outcomes between Indigenous students and their non-Indigenous counterparts. The ultimate aim was to achieve cross-cultural equity in education for all Australians. One such initiative was the Australian Sports Commission designing a comprehensive set of activity cards for use in Australian schools, which includes over 100 Indigenous games under the banner of Yulunga. The game chosen for this purpose is called Wimi, a traditional game originating in Central Australia, played by the Welbiri people, whereby players would roll stones and aim to hit their opponent's stone. A variation of this game can be compared to a Western game of bocce. This lesson's explicit links to the Australian curriculum incorporates the value movement proposition of the HPE curriculum key ideas, since the students are participating in significant cultural and social practices while learning movement, throwing and aiming skills. The most appropriate content descriptor comes from the movement and physical activity strand, and the sub-strand, learning through movement. The content descriptor, ACPM032, states that learning outcomes should include students learning to identify rules and fair play when participating in physical activities. The relevant elaboration states that students should demonstrate turn-taking and sharing equipment when participating in minor games. As you will see in this presentation, the game chosen represented those skills and were clearly demonstrated by the students as they participated eagerly in the game. The game chosen also provides a valuable opportunity to link the Indigenous activity to ACARA's cross-curriculum priority of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander histories and cultures, and works towards high levels of student equity. The lesson began with a yarning circle where students were asked what they knew about Indigenous culture and games. One at a time, students were asked to share their knowledge. Following this, I explained the origins of the game Wimi and discussed with the class the location of Central Australia where the game originated. In this image, we see students moving off into groups ready to begin the activity. Since this activity was new to the class, I chose to allow students a practice game to ensure they were able to form a clear understanding of the game conventions. As the students participated well, they quickly understood the key components of the rules and expectations for the game. Once we returned to our yarning circle and discussed students' understanding, it became clear that they were excited to be trying an Indigenous game that they had never experienced before. Here we can see students demonstrating turn-taking and sharing of equipment. Students are watching and encouraging their classmates performing the physical movement skills required to successfully play the game. Important aspects of the lesson was allowing students of all levels of ability the opportunity to participate and experience the thrill of the game. Students were to learn through listening, watching and participating. Here we see a student following the physical movement instructions. 1 foot forward, while the opposite hand to the forward foot performs the underarm throwing technique. Safety was a concern here, as I had a group on the opposite side of the rope circle, but all students participated in a very safe and respectful manner, being careful to throw the ball at the target and not too hard, lest they hit a classmate. Students were largely successful in their techniques, with the majority landing close to the target. Most balls landing close to the target meant that students understood the instructions clearly. No differentiation was required here, as all students were able to perform the task with next to no extra clarification. Students reported thorough enjoyment of the lesson and requested similar lessons in the future. The site-based teacher educator feedback was also positive, commenting that overall student behaviour was excellent, possibly due to the engaging lesson content. As I began teaching this lesson, it occurred to me that perhaps I should have chosen a game with more local ties, since there are over 500 different Indigenous nations in Australia. Since Wimi originated in Central Australia, my choice of game may have been somewhat irrelevant to local Indigenous students. Therefore, I would choose a more locally significant game in the future. There are many and varied resources available online to assist educators and others aspiring for inclusivity and embedding Indigenous perspectives into their daily practice. This lesson experience provided me with insight into how Indigenous traditional knowledge and pedagogies can provide both my students and me an inclusive and rewarding learning experience while satisfying curriculum outcome requirements. I also learned that it is best practice to incorporate Indigenous perspectives from the local area rather than generic practice from elsewhere in Australia, as this may not hold any relevance to local Indigenous students. Tyson Yunkaporta, in 2009, established the concept of 8 ways of learning for Indigenous students. Such a concept was developed for teachers to further understand their students and how they learn, so that they may begin to embed Indigenous perspectives into their everyday pedagogies and boost educative successes. The Play by the Rules website offers a comprehensive list of tools for use in practicing inclusivity in all sports activities. The website contains many useful links related to the 7 pillars of inclusion, which consist of access, which considers both physical and perceptual access, with a significant focus on methods to generate a more accessible and hospitable atmosphere within sporting organisations and HPE settings. Attitude, widely perceived as the largest barrier for inclusivity. Choice, which relates to offering a range of participatory options. Partnerships, because inclusivity requires partnerships between various organisations to succeed. Communication, it's critical to the success of inclusivity. People cannot generate change without communication. Policy is the best display of communication to the cause. And opportunities, because we need to create opportunities for all students to experience success. This Queensland Government Inclusive Education website is a useful tool for examining current policies and pedagogical initiatives. The Queensland Department of Education is committed to ensuring all students have access to an equal opportunity to learn in an inclusive and supportive environment. The concept behind this resource is designed to assist teachers and educators to incorporate Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander content in classroom settings. Various sections embedded within the site offer many options for exploring incorporation of Indigenous perspectives in the classroom and beyond. Thank you for your time and for watching. Here is my source list for your reference. Images for this presentation were sourced from these sites.